what is the old saying? Genetics loads the gun, but it's your lifestyle that pulls the trigger or keeps the safety on, right? So it's always the lifestyle.
The sad truth is that most people wait for a major health crisis before they even begin to start questioning the conventional wisdom that we have shoved down our throats and have had for decades. Guilty as charged. So did my guest. After suffering a heart attack, Daniel Trevor didn't just accept the standard protocol. He dove deep into the research, uncovering uncomfortable truths about why we're getting fatter, sicker, and more addicted than ever before. At 78 years old, Daniel Trevor has cut through the noise to document the systemic corruption driving our current food crisis. In his book, Unholy Trinity, How Carbs, Sugar, and Oils Make Us Fat, Sick, and Addicted, and How to Escape Their Grip, he breaks down exactly how these three pillars, refined carbohydrates, sugar, and industrial seed oils, are destroying our health. If you've ever wondered why the expert advice seems to keep failing us, you're going to want to hear this, right here on Black Box Warning.
I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time, got no filter, I got no filter, no filter, I got no filter, no filter, I got no filter, no filter, I got no filter.
Welcome, Daniel Trevor, to the channel. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on to the channel today.
Thanks, Liz. I appreciate you having me. Really love what you're doing too, and I love Black Box Warning.
Yeah, you got to warn about all those regulatory agencies out there.
I'm telling you, most people don't know what that. I'm glad you explained it too. You say it gives all the deadly warnings that are on all the pharmaceuticals that they're feeding us, right? So I love that, and I love your guests and what you're doing on your channel, trying to help people to wake up as to what's going on with us.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. And you have quite a story to tell. In fact, it was so impactful surrounding nutrition, health, all of that it led to your book, which is the Unholy Trinity, which I love that title. So, and I'll let you elaborate on that. But tell us where it all started. Like, how did this all start?
Yeah, well, it's Unholy Trinity, subtitle, How Carbs, Sugar, and Oils Make Us Fat, Sick, and Addicted, and How to Escape Their Grip. How Carbs, Sugar, and Oils Make Us Fat, Sick, and Addicted, and How to Escape their grip, which is very important because that's, it all starts with addiction, right? Addiction comes from the Latin addictus, meaning slave. So people have just become a slave to all these modern foods, I guess you would call them. Anyway, so what happened to me was I had just passed a cardiac stress test with flying colors. I got a clean bill of health from my trusted physicians. And then I had a heart attack and almost died. It's like, what is this all about? And since I've studied highly technical data all my life, I was very fortunate to early on learn how to study well. Not that I was a great straight A student. It's just that if I was interested in something, I could find out, and I, whatever it was I needed to. And after the heart attack, I, was never more highly interested in something. So how could this happen to me? I'm Mr. Healthy, And it turns out that I had 4 comorbidities, which I'll tell you about. And so it led me to write this book. I thought, after I started taking the deep dive and realizing that what we've been told to eat is killing us, it shocked and infuriated me. So I decided I need to share this with my brother and sister humans, right? So they don't run into what I did. And so I think of the book as 3 things, basically. This might get us started. First of all, it's a how-to book on how I researched and studied and then stabilized and reversed 4 comorbidities, like I said, I'll tell you about. And then secondly, I think of it as a expose on big food, big pharma, and big medicine. And then thirdly, I think of it as, and this is from 30,000 feet, of course, all of these things, to break it down to 3 things. The third thing is it's a data evaluation and situation analysis and data analysis, basically, of this. In 1930, the obesity rate was 1% in the United States. We are now approaching 50% in under a mere 100 years. Never in human history has a population gotten so fat and so sick so fast. You got to say, what the hell is happening? And when you pull the strings and you do the data analysis, you find that's the introduction in the 20th century of the carbs, sugar, and seed oils in the amounts and concentrations we've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and especially in the last half of the 20th century, but it all started in the beginning. See, in 1900, that's when Hershey's made their first candy bar. And I'm thinking, what a great way to start a century, right? And then it was, Tootsie Roll and all the rest of them started coming in. And then, sugar's been around for a long time, but like I said, never in the amounts and concentrations as it's been in the 20th century. Sugar goes back, it was invented in India, and I found a reference. It was first reference in this religious text called Atharva Veda, and that goes back about 1500 BC. So we're looking at about 3,500 years now. But again, never like it is been introduced in the 20th century. And then the seed oils, you probably know this.
Procter and Gamble.
Yeah. Oh my God! Yeah, they weren't even in the food supply until early 20th century.
It was way early.
Yeah, the first time they were even in existence was 1865 with cottonseed oil from cotton farming, and then they started getting the other vegetables involved and so forth, and they were used in the Industrial Revolution as
lubricant.
Labor lubricant and motor oil. It's like, what?
What's crazy about that, and I'm going to stop you there, is that I have that. Oh my God, you just hit my white whale. Okay. So when it comes to Procter and Gamble, like they were looking for, you had them coming from two different industries. They ended up marrying sisters in like the same town and created their business in like Cincinnati. And they were making candles and soap, I think. And so they're like, oh, we need a cheap way to do it. Look to seed oils, which were lubricants. And the thing is that at some point in time, someone had the brilliant idea to go, hey, let's fry some donuts in this crap and feed it to people. It's like, you have no idea what this is going to do to people. So I'm right there with you. That's why I love the title of your book.
No. It's just so important. You're so right on with those guys. Yeah, it was William Procter and James Gamble, Procter and Gamble. And they looked at a bucket of it when they came from Europe over to Ohio, and they said, hey, it looks like lard, which is what people cooked with. Why don't we sell it to people, make some money, right? Yeah. And that's what it was. And Crisco started flying off the shelves in 1911. And then wouldn't you know it, a year later, the very first medically recorded heart attack was 1912. What a coinky dink, right? And so heart disease started coming on the scene. Cancer wasn't even like a thing, as they say, until the 30s. And by mid-century, it was our biggest killers, heart disease and then cancer. And it remains that way. It's so insane. I have a whole chapter. Chapter 6 is all about it's called The Shocking Truth About Vegetable Oils. Because people think, vegetable oils, it must be good for me, right? They don't know, because they have these chemicals, TBHQ, they got HNE, which is 4-hydroxynonenal. They got aldehydes like from cigarettes, and hexane. And what these chemicals do, especially when you heat them, is they are carcinogenic, neurodegenerative, and 7 to 10 times more likely to cause heart disease. So it's just a disaster all around. So just use butter, believe me.
Yep. And eat food, because a lot of the stuff, when you look at the processed food supply, it's not food. You shouldn't put it in your mouth. It's not food. It never was food. It'll never be food. It's not food. And then you've got combinations of things you shouldn't put in your mouth, like in lethal combinations, like really. So 100%.
Yeah. And so you have the sugar and then the seed oils and the grains. I mean, they weren't even in the human food supply until about 9 or 10,000 years ago with the introduction of the agricultural societies, which is in the eons of time. That's like 20 minutes ago, right?
I know.
And that's why I have my chapter 10, Are You a Wheat Addict? And let me explain what I mean by that. I have a picture of a guy. Well, it's his skull. It's from 100,000 years ago. In my book, I have a lot of images and graphs and charts, and I want to make it easier for the reader, right?
Mhm.
Because I wrote it for the average reader of health and wellness. Notice I didn't say average person because they don't read at all. So it's the average reader. And I
Yep.
really break things down to a basic level because I always believe what Einstein said. He said something like, if you can't explain something complicated to a third grader, then you don't really understand it yourself, right? Not that I think my
Mhm.
reader's a third grader, but you got to
Mhm.
break it down, give examples or that kind of thing. And if I do have to use a technical term, for example, let's say if I say endothelium, in
Mhm.
parentheses, right after I'll put lining of the arteries. And after I've done that two or
Mhm.
three times, I go, oh yeah, endothelium. I know, which is very important to understand
Mhm.
because the vascular
Mhm.
inflammation, excuse me. So wait for my coffee to kick in. Uh,
Yeah.
um, it's just, goes through the whole body and it's kind of can turn on all of these diseases that you in your heredity. But even having said
Mhm.
that, what is the old saying? Genetics loads the gun, but it's your lifestyle that pulls the trigger or keeps the
Mhm.
safety on, right? So it's always the lifestyle because you can
Yep.
have a lot of things in your heredity. Mom and dad had this and grandpa had that. But
Mhm.
if you just live the proper lifestyle and eat a proper human diet like you and I do,
Yep.
then that's not going to happen. But the wheat, the way it became so addictive was that um, well, see, let me finish the first part. I have this picture of the guy. His skull is 100,000 years old, and he's got
Mhm.
perfect teeth. And the way they analyze it, they said it was really healthy and that kind. And when they started exhuming bodies from after 10,000 years ago towards the present,
Mhm.
they found all these new diseases, missing teeth. Men shrunk 5 inches, women shrunk 3 inches. It was just a disaster.
Mhm.
And so it went on like that. But to get to the addicting part, big agriculture in the late 60s, early 70s, they wanted to get a more bountiful crop. How do we get more from our crops here? And they
Mhm.
discovered this thing. Well, they had these process called chemical mutagenesis and radiation mutagenesis. And what that does is amps up this protein called gliadin, Gliadin, that's connected to gluten,
Mhm.
gliadin. And what does that do? It attaches to the opiate receptors of the brain. Same
Yep.
opiate receptors as morphine and heroin. I mean, it doesn't get you high or relieve pain, but its expression is to make you
Mhm.
crave more of the things that have wheat and grains in them, like the bread, pasta, cereal, waffles,
Yep.
biscuits, pancakes, tortillas,
Mhm.
the pizza crust, on and on. You know how that goes.
Mhm.
And check this stat out, Liz. This is amazing. This blew my mind when I figured this out. Well, I mean, when I discovered it. The average supermarket has 60,000 products. 59,000 have wheat or some form of wheat in them.
Yeah.
There's about 10 aliases that they give,
Mhm.
and I give that in the book too. Even
Yeah, there's a lot
Twizzler.
of people that yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Like that's like a shocking stat to people. They just can't believe that. Like for instance, did you know when you go to IHOP, just since you're bringing this up, when you go to IHOP and you order eggs and you think that you're doing this, oh, I got this carnivore thing going on. They put pancake batter in the eggs,
Uh,
in the
I
eggs.
didn't
I'm like,
know
"What?"
that.
They do, like, for omelet, if your omelet doesn't have just eggs and cheese and whatever else in it, like, it has pancake batter in it.
They'll do anything they can. I mean,
Yep.
it's so sad. I mean, even Twizzlers, the candy. Next time you're in a candy
Mhm.
aisle, pick that up. The second ingredient is wheat. I mean,
Yep.
they're really coming after our opiate receptors. It's an industry of craving. That's why
Mhm.
you probably know this in the mid to late 80s, big tobacco, their stats were going down and people were
Mhm.
listening to the Surgeon General about the warnings for cancer and this and that. And they looked around and said, oh God, what are we going to do? So they bought up the big food companies. They bought
Mhm.
Kraft, Nabisco, General Foods, Post, and so on. And they brought their addiction scientists from big tobacco
Mhm.
over to big food. And when I say addiction scientists, we're not talking about people to get you unaddicted from something, right?
Mhm.
These are people that are trying to figure out, okay, so what kind of what ingredients could we put in them
Mhm.
to make them eat the whole bag instead of half the bag, that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
just profits.
Yeah, it's sinister. It's sinister. They actually, because I know food chemists, because I'm a chemist, so it's like I know other people who went into that. They search for the bliss point. Okay, and
That's what
that's
they call it, the
important.
bliss point.
Yep. You have the sugar, the salt, and the you've got the right texture. You have to like engineer the right texture. That's where the seed oils come in. So they actually mix this witch's brew up and make food out of it. And when they put on the bag that Lay's potato chips, you can't eat just one, they meant it. They engineered it to do that. And also it bypasses your satiety signals so that you keep eating and eating and eating and eating and you don't ever get full. So it's perfect, like for profit margins.
Well, it's profits over people. That's what it is.
Yep,
And you know,
definitely.
you know so much about this stuff, but I really dive into it on all of it because it was, like I said, it was a shock to me. Um, Especially, growing up. I mean, let me tell you about my other comorbidities a little bit. So, first, of course, I had the heart disease, right? But I didn't know that I was a type 2 diabetic. I was
Okay.
among the 1% of the population that can be on the slim side, but still be a type 2 diabetic. And the reason for that is, I mean, check this out. This is just wild. Study just a few years ago out of Johns Hopkins. And they found that 75% of doctors, now we're talking what, general practitioners, family physicians, internists, and cardiologists, 75% do not know how to properly diagnose and test for prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. It's like, what? That's our
Yep.
biggest epidemic, right? And so what they do is, just to finish that, most doctors, they'll check fasting blood glucose and fasting A1C. And, then they'll say, oh, you're normal. Oh, I'll see you in a year. No, they don't do this other one called the OGTT with insulin, oral glucose tolerance test with insulin, because that's the one that you can really check out whether you're pre-diabetic, normal, type 2 diabetic. And that was me. I tested normally, both of those, right? And then when I did the OGTT with insulin, and it's explained very well in in the book what that is and everything, and how that works and so forth. That's how you really find out. I mean, this is just an amazing test. And by the way, up on my website, danieltrevor.com, I have all the tests, the most important ones that doctors leave out. And you can check that out. I mean, you can even buy them there too. I made a deal with Quest Diagnostics where people can buy them or just write them down and take them to your doctor and say, hey, doc, let's do these. I want these, And when I was on with Dr. Anthony Chafee, he was, I was going over this with him, and you got to be careful because the doctor might say, oh, you don't need that. You're fine. You don't need that. You're fine. And the only reason he's saying that is because he doesn't know what it is, wouldn't know how to analyze your results anyway. And
would never admit it. Never admit
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And the last thing doctors want to get from their patients is homework. They don't want to get homework from their patients. So believe me, we are all on our own, unfortunately. And you know that more than anybody because of your 30 years experience, seeing how the sausage is made. That's how you put it on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love
I've
it.
seen way too much.
You are just too funny. Yeah, I just love
the medical, what's shocking to me is that the medical industrial complex, I thought originally that it was, it's people say it's pharmaceutical industry, the evil pharmaceutical industry, or then now it's the evil food industry. And then you've got the medical industry itself and all the procedures and the subscription plans that they put you on. So the whole thing though works together. And it is the medical industrial complex, kind of to a throwback to like what JFK, the military industrial complex. But it's a good name that actually wraps all of that up with a bow because it all works together to, kind of do us in, to be honest.
Well, I'll tell you, that's what I call the other unholy trinity: big food, big pharma, big medicine.
Yeah, yeah.
Big food. We don't have any education on that because when you walk into a supermarket, we don't even have the thought. I mean, we just assume, so we're so trusting that if any of this stuff was bad for me, it wouldn't be for sale, right? It wouldn't be for sale. Because attorneys would get involved, right? But we don't know. There's no, it's not taught in school. And they like that ignorance. And so the big food winds up sending this to big medicine. And we're handled by a pharma-funded
Yep.
medical school attendee, and
Mhm.
then we're sent to, around. It's just around and around, and
Yep.
we go. Big
Yeah.
food to big medicine to big pharma, because then it's just like you say, just drugs and
Assembly
procedures
line.
and drugs and procedures, and yeah.
Yep. 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 It's the sick cycle. You just go on, you just get on it and you're stuck on it and
Oh my
that's it.
God,
And
it's
you
just
get worse and worse and worse. Yep. Yep.
yeah. So anyway, that was my second comorbidity with the type 2 diabetes, and I didn't know. I mean, each morning when I was on with Ken Berry, he says, "Hey Daniel, what was your diet like before you had the heart attack?" He said, "Were you sitting on the sofa eating Cheetos and Fritos and drinking Coca-Cola?" I
Mm-mm.
said, "No, I knew enough to not do that." But my
Mhm.
downfall was I was totally sold on the propaganda and the BS of
Mhm.
heart healthy whole
Oh
grains.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that these whole grains,
Yeah.
they turn into sugar
Mhm.
when you ingest them and you put them in your body. I didn't
Mhm.
know any of that. And
Mhm.
along with the high fructose corn syrup that's in the
Mhm.
granolas and this and that. And I was into that,
Yep.
in the
Oh,
morning.
you were paying attention to that little heart on that box. You were like, American Heart Association's got their little heart on it. It's
Hey,
got to be
well, if it's
good. I
down
mean,
for
we
that,
all do.
oh
Yeah.
my God, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I just was really heavy into the heart healthy whole grains. Air quotes for
Mhm.
anybody listening and not watching, but yeah, so like that. And so I had I went to not long after the heart attack, since I had studied technical data all my life, I took a dive into this science, and I went to Google University and YouTube University and PubMed and all these studies and
Mhm.
books and stuff. And I just immersed myself there. And when I say studies, I paid attention to the good ones, the RCTs, randomized controlled trials. I made sure I didn't pay any attention to had funding that from big food, big pharma, big medicine,
Mhm.
and because as you know, they can be corrupted. People are. I show a couple of those in the book about how a couple of doctors or researchers from Harvard way back, they were paid
Mhm.
off to say sugar's not the
Mhm.
danger. It's the
Mhm.
fat.
Ansel
It's the
Keys.
and yeah, the meat and the butter and the cheese and all
Yep.
that. And so it's just so crazy the amount of corruption.
Mhm.
It's just wild. I don't have to tell you because I've heard you talk about it. I know because of you. You said you've seen how the sausage is
Mhm.
made.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So it's just wild how that continues to occur, and I'm so glad that RFK Jr. is trying to do something about it. And I'm not pushing
Mhm.
any kind of political view, but
Yeah.
we just need people to find out what really
Mhm.
is going on and take a deeper look.
Yeah. And he's doing something. I mean, that's the thing is that people are like, yeah, a lot of times when different administrations will they're like, somebody will try to do something. It's like, well, heck, I mean, at least he's trying to do something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I'll give him credit for that. And the whole thing they did about the pyramid, it was a nice try. You didn't quite get all the way there with saturated fat, but I knew that he was not going to get but so far because it is a machine. It is like it's a huge machine, and it is what it is. And I think that doing anything was in a step in the right direction. At least we got somewhere with it.
Oh my God, absolutely. I mean,
You know.
things you can't people will get overwhelmed in finding out what you and
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Yeah.
And if we just take some steps, at least we're heading in the right direction. We're eating meat again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Because that's what
Yeah.
they said
Yeah.
that we're going to what was it? This was when Macari was still there. He said we're going to end the decades-long demonization of natural fat.
Mm-hmm.
And no
Yep.
longer are we going to demonize, uh, you know, meat and steak and butter and cheese and all like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like,
Yep.
who was a
And
big, go ahead.
no, no. Casey and Callie Means are two individuals that I think have done a lot of good too. You're probably familiar with them,
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially with the expose and the like Coca-Cola's practices and the marketing campaigns and the targeting and all that kind of stuff. It's like you're in a battle like with food. So that's why I love the your title to this book because it's a war. It's an actual war of human beings against like this machine that's coming at them left, right, and center. And it actually, the poor are suffer from this more than anybody because if you actually don't have, and I'll give you an example, if you do not have enough money to not eat the poison then you're stuck with the poison because you've got to eat food. Like heavy cream has carrageenan, polysorbate 80, monodiglycerides, right? It's got all this crap in it. And one of those, and I can't remember which one, but they inject into lab rats to make them inflamed. And they're feeding it to us. I have to go on the other, it's $3 a thing for heavy cream. I have to go to the other side of town to one store, only place, only brand. It's $10 a bottle and it's smaller.
No, no,
So,
no.
I mean,
I have
yeah.
to do the same thing because I add a little bit to my coffee. You know, every morning I have one 12-ounce mug and I never even finish it. I drink it over a period of the first few hours of the day. But, you know, I like the taste. I put some creatine in it, some MCT oil powder
Yep.
because my stomach doesn't like the oil. So, but anyway, so yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, they put these, the whole thing again is it's the texture like you're talking about and but yeah, I get the same organic type with none of that nonsense in the heavy whipping cream.
Yep.
That's about the only
Yeah.
dairy that I have. It's see, when I first found all this, I found these brilliant people like yourself on YouTube. And I started following them. I was like, wow, this is really something. I first found keto, right? And
Yep.
there was
The
everybody
gateway
from,
drug. The
Say
gateway
again?
drug to the gateway drug to carnivore. That's what I call it. But
Oh,
a lot
that's
of
funny.
times,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I just,
Yeah.
you know, if that's your entry, that's fine. You know, I first found
Mm-hmm.
low carb keto, and then it eventually led to carnivore and so on. But yeah, I've been on with a lot of people that I've seen you have on your channel, like Dave Mack and Anthony Chafee, Eric Berg, and you know, and so on and so forth. So I was fine. And there was this guy, Ivor Cummins, and he was brilliant at all this. And then there was this other doctor I found. His name is Dr. Ford Brewer, brilliant guy. He's
Mm-hmm.
medical doctor. He's taught and trained thousands of doctors at Johns Hopkins in the preventive program. And that was the best one and only one in the world, I think. And I reached out to him when I was writing the book, and I said, "Hey, you know, Dr. Ford, I'm writing a book, and would you do me a favor? Would you be interested in writing a chapter that turned out to be my chapter 22 in my book, delineating what are the most important blood labs and scans that anybody can get online without even needing a doctor's prescription? That way, you yourself, you can find out if you've got something that's ready to pounce, or you're borderline, or you're normal, whatever, because you need to be testing, because especially after you get over 40 years old, I think that if you're either overweight or obese and over 40 or all of those, you've got to test, because without testing, that's like driving down the road without a speedometer or a steering wheel, and you will crash. You go, oh, wow, I know my mother and father had this, but I didn't know I was going to get it too, right? So you got to test. And like he calls his chapter, don't guess, test. And so I was really happy because that's the longest chapter in the book, and he goes over all of them. And the number one test that says you should get is the oral glucose tolerance with test with insulin. And the reason for that is because people have to understand the two most important players in the processing of the food that you put in your mouth, and that's glucose and insulin. When you eat something, your glucose goes up, and then the pancreas senses that, as you know, to bring that down, keep it in a safe range, and it's a normal process that goes on through life. But when you're eating these modern foods that are not really that don't belong in the human diet, then your glucose is going to be elevated along with your insulin hour after hour, day after day. And then within a couple of weeks, you're going to develop what's called hyperinsulinemia. Hyper, too much insulin. Emia means in the blood. This is for your audience, because I know you know all these things. I'm not trying to teach you anything. And even though I know you have a smart audience. So then the hyperinsulinemia leads to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, because insulin is the fat storage hormone, leads to overweight, obese, and as well as chronic inflammation throughout the body, especially the vascular area, because that's what goes through through the entire body, the vascular inflammation, and it can potentially turn on what you've got lurking in your genes. So that's one of the other dangers of these modern foods that we were never meant to eat.
Yeah, it's not, and we use food loosely here. Like when we're talking about this modern foods, I wouldn't even call it food, but I say food just because,
Well, that's why I
it's the
put
easiest way to
quotations about it
describe
when
it.
I
Yeah,
say foods.
food.
The
Yeah, yeah,
foods of
and
modernity.
yeah, and the thing is, like, if you're a standard American diet person and you're talking about testing, like I don't test anything like now because I've been a carnivore for like 3.5 years. I go by how I feel. But before, when I was on standard American diet, I would have been shocked to see what my bloods were doing at that point in time. Like, it would have been shocking to me to really see what was going on. And some of the time I got some things done, but like you were saying, the physicians, they don't know half of the really good tests that actually will give you information. They won't tell you to do the right things anyway. So, there's a lot of now a new resurgence of people understanding they can get their own lab test. You know what I mean? And there's places like Dr. Berry did a book about labs and things like that, which help people, and stuff like your resource where it's going over things like that. Like that's very helpful and guides people because people, I mean, just the run, a layperson's not going to know the difference between a lot of this stuff. So it's, that's helpful, I think, to the public is to have those things, those
Oh,
resources.
absolutely. See, you and I know how to read our own labs. I get my labs checked
Mhm.
every 6 months or so, just because I know how to read them. You just have to learn that. And if you don't want to learn it, you got to make sure you're getting it analyzed by someone that you
Mhm.
trust, because these
Mhm.
doctors that are taught in their pharma-funded
Mhm.
medical schools,
Yep. Yep.
they don't fund. They just want the doctor. They don't want the doctor
Mhm.
talking to the patient about diet and exercise. There's no
Mhm.
money in that.
Yes,
It's just,
forbidden subjects
oh
too.
my
And then,
God.
and it's like someone you did an interview with Coach Stephen, which in the
Oh
UK,
yeah.
and yeah, and he is an expert at like discussing labs with respect to your diet, which I think is great because on top of you want to know where you stand. Depending on what you're eating, like if you continue to test and you've changed your diet, you're going to have to look at those labs in a different way. You can't, normal values means normal fat population for the
Right.
most part. So, it's not as clear cut, especially when you go to fix these issues and you say go to carnivore. But, like
Yeah.
how did you, and I'll let you, like, what else did you have going on outside of, I know you were talking about your comorbidities
Well, I
and
had
everything.
the type 2 diabetes, which is the source root cause of my heart disease. I mean, Dr. Joseph
Mm-hmm.
Kraft back in the 70s first discovered that he had done thousands of autopsies, and he discovered that the process of diabetes is atherosclerotic. It's just building up, and
Mm-hmm.
that was very new, and it was confirmed years later in the Prevent trial and these other ones. So he was right all along. In other words, you can't have heart disease without having some degree of a diabetic physiology. Is the bottom line,
Mm-hmm.
and I cover his work. I think in chapter 2, because early, I like to get first couple of chapters is like, okay, how did we get here in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to give
Yep.
him some of this things there, and then chapter 3, I get into, I think it's what's it called? We're built for a high protein and fat, low carbohydrate diet. That's how we evolved.
Mm-hmm.
For millions of years. Well, anthropologists and bioarchaeologists have proven that we have been eating meat for at least 2.6 to 4.5 million years. Our diet always consisted of what we could catch, kill, and eat, nose to tail,
Mm-hmm.
what we might pick
Yep.
off a tree or a vine, but only when those berries were
Mm-hmm.
in season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was always a higher protein and fat, lower carbohydrate diet. And that's why the 20th century, that's why we've had so many diseases come on, and heart disease and cancer and so on. It's because it's just crazy. Have you heard of the
Yeah.
ischemia trial? I don't know if you know about that one.
I believe so. For whatever reason, I'm not remembering details of it. I know I've heard of it, but I don't remember exactly which one it is.
I think your
If you
audience
can
might like this.
enlighten.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
especially it's big because the biggest killer that we have right now and still is heart disease, and you got to know how to
Mhm.
avoid it. And that's basically where I came from. Um, And there's this, it's called ischemia. I can't remember what the ISCHEMIA means, how it's
Mhm.
kind of you know what ischemia means, but
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
large government funded $100 million study of almost 5,200 people. I think it was 5,179. I don't know how these information sticks in my head. But anyway, so two
Yeah.
groups, right? Group
Mhm.
one, they sent them in the direction. These are people with fairly stable heart disease. They sent them in the direction of invasive procedures, either
Mhm.
CABG, coronary artery bypass graft, that's open heart surgery with bypass,
Mhm.
or PCI, percutaneous coronary intervention, which is one or more stents. So that's group
Mhm.
one. Group two, they sent them in the direction of lifestyle. Lose 30, 40, 50 pounds, get back to the gym, stop eating the Coca-Cola and the
Mhm.
Fritos and Cheetos and donuts and stuff. And they followed them closely for 4 years, well, almost 4 years, with testing and so forth. And it was a
Mhm.
failure. What they said was, in the conclusion, is the ischemia trial failed to show that these invasive procedures were any good at prevention, right? They couldn't
Mhm.
prevent anything because it was the same amount of deaths, heart attacks, strokes, death, that kind of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Same stats. And there was also the Courage trial and the Orbita trial. They found the same thing. And with these failures, do you think that these invasive procedures will start to not maybe come to a halt, but start to slow down?
Mhm.
There's more done now than the chart that's like out the top. And because, see, there's such an enormous amount of revenue generated by these mostly unnecessary procedures that there's no way the board of directors of
Mm-mm.
CEO of the hospital or the cardiology clinic is going to want to see all that disappear, because if that disappears, careers and
Mhm.
institutions will disappear, right? I
Mhm.
mean, that's how they build the new wing of the hospital.
Yep. Yep.
And
And they took the little heart off okay, so they took the American Heart Association, took that little heart that had made them trillions of dollars in like marketing, right? And they took it off the box of some of the like worst cereals like the Fruit Loops and whatever.
Cheerios and
But
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, so there's too much invested in it. And they actually walked back, and I don't remember the year. I did a video on it a long time ago, but it's like they walked back the fact that cholesterol leads to heart disease, which is what they used to say. They stopped saying that because they can't say that anymore. But do you think that cholesterol was less demonized after that? Nope, it was like a little
uh,
footnote down there. Yeah, little footnote, like
it's
nobody even paid attention to it.
it's just so
Yeah,
crazy. Now, to be clear, these procedures can be life-saving interventions.
yeah.
Say if the person's
Mhm.
having a heart attack or if there's some emergency in the hospital, but that's only
Mhm.
15% of the time. The other 85% of the time, these
Mhm.
invasive procedures are done for prevention, and these trials completely,
Wow.
showed that they don't work for
Yeah.
prevention. And so, if
Yeah.
you're anybody in your audience, if your doctor's saying, we should go in this direction of one of these invasive procedures,
Mhm.
show him these studies. They're all, I think I have them in
Mhm.
chapter 17 or so. Um, and then ask him, okay, so explain to me again why
Mhm.
you think we should do this. It's like,
Why is this effective? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
why do you think that, why, that kind of thing. It's just pretty wild.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the doctor's office is a place where I actually personally think that, anywhere else, if we got this crap of service, like we would be at the front desk like a Karen going, I want my money back. I want to see the manager.
Karen, Karen, Karen.
And it's like we don't do that with doctors. They just fail, 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 fail. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll come back and pay you some more money. It's crazy
hey,
to me.
Liz, they get
So
the white coat. Knows all,
that's
sees
right.
all,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Oh, my
They look
doctor said,
fancy.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just such a shame because, if people really knew about this ischemia trial and how they don't work for those kind of things, um, like what you're saying is, if they knew the truth about the doctors and they don't get any information about
Hmm.
nutrition and that kind of thing, and they just don't know the right tests to do and that kind of thing, because if they did, then there goes, insofar as the doctors, there goes the beach house or the mountain retreat and
Hmm.
the 50-footer docked at the local marina. Just everything would just change big time.
Hmm.
And so we can't have that, right?
Nope.
And I don't hold it against them. Doctors have saved my life, but I think by the time they get into 30s and they've got their mortgage and they got the family and they got the kids in Ivy League, and it's,
Hmm.
I don't know, the one I know a lot of doctors now, and we discussed this, and it seems like some of them are just, it's kind of like a 9 to 5 job where they just go and they
Hmm.
write the scripts and this and that. But
Yep.
anyway, I don't mean to badmouth all doctors because there's a lot of brilliant
Yeah.
people.
And there's good, like Dr. Barry's a good example of a doctor who started to realize he had an awakening. Like he believed all the crap. And then he had an awakening where his patients, being from, I think he's in Tennessee, but he's in the South. And so if you have a bunch of fat patients like trying to lose weight and you're looking at your fat doctor going, wait a minute, like, if you've got such good advice, like why the heck aren't you like losing weight? And
Oh
then
my,
he realized that they're not going to put up with his crap. And so he's like, well, I got to figure out what's going on. And he did. And, he's one of the ones that does speak truth, So there's not many of them, though, because I don't think, honestly, the system is not set up to allow them to continue practicing if they say the wrong things. It is that political and that structure.
well,
Because
yeah, and
you're
I
going
can
against the
understand.
machine.
Yeah, I can understand some of it because they have to stay within the confines of medical standard of care, right? I mean, I can
Mm-hmm.
imagine. I mean, I don't know if this has happened or anything, but if this guy comes in and his cholesterol is through the roof, but he's otherwise healthy, and if he doesn't put him on a statin, like a torvastatin, 80
Mm-hmm.
milligrams or something, uh, he could get, and that guy gets into trouble. Maybe they'll sue him. They'll sue the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, yeah.
doctors
Yeah.
have to, they got everything set up and they can't be
Mm-hmm.
sued because then word will
Yep.
get out.
Yep.
And the whole thing of statins is such a boondoggle. I mean, I have a whole chapter on that, statins. It's just so
Mm-hmm.
wild because, they could create so many awful side effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Muscle
Absolutely.
aches and pain. But the big one is you'll lose 20 or 30 IQ points. I mean, that's why they call it statin stupid. Oh, he's statin, and,
Yeah.
road rage, family members get, fearful of them because they can fly off the handle. And so
Wow.
because
Yeah.
that's because statins are effective at lowering cholesterol, but the brain
Mm-hmm.
needs lots of cholesterol. And that's,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
why you don't never want, I have a lot of information in there, but let me just tell you this one study that I got from Dr. Robert Lustig. And it was a large meta-analysis that involved 92,135 patients because people want to know, if I take a statin the rest of my life, how much longer can I live? Will I live? And researchers thought, yeah, let's find that out. Let's figure that out. So that was that's why it was so 92,135 patients. And they looked at the data, and what they found was those in the group taking statins for primary prevention. In other words, no heart attack yet. They're just doing it because their doctor has some goofy, outdated, unscientific ideas about LDL or cholesterol, so they're taking it for that. They lived a big 3 days longer than the other group that wasn't taking a statin with no
I
side
think I remember.
effects.
Yeah, I
Right?
remember seeing that. Yeah.
And then the other group who, for secondary prevention, in other words, they already had a heart attack, they lived a big 4 days longer.
Yeah.
So I asked my
Yeah.
readers in the book after I reveal that, you still want to put up with the nasty side effects from taking statins, or you just want to say, here's 3 days. I'm not doing that, right?
Yeah. And it's too muddy. It's too, honestly, I always talk about how the fact that even because I was in clinical trials. So, and the problem with drugs in clinical trials and looking at a group of human organisms is that there's too many variables. That if I have a beaker in front of me and I'm going to analyze it, okay, I'm going to look at our solutions and I've got different beakers. I'm going to inject that solution into an HPLC column. I'm going to fractionate it. I'm going to quantify it. I'm going to know exactly what is going on with it. But with a human organism, my God, you're talking about complex systems. So there's no way for them to know the future of what these drugs are going to do. Yet they act like they have perfect clarity and omnipotent powers, and they do not know. And so that's why, one of the things I always harp on about is the GLP-1s are going to be one of the biggest disasters of our time, and that goes back in the bucket of statins, because you're hijacking the body. With statins, you're hijacking what the body wants to do. How do so the body wants to do that. The human organism wants to make the cholesterol. If you're eating a healthy diet, if you're not eating garbage, it's like it wants to make the cholesterol, and your body needs cholesterol. And if you deprive it of that, you're going to get sick. So it's literally that simple.
I'm telling you. So I really, which reminds me, my mind wanders and you remind me of things. My other comorbidity, my third one, I've already told you about the first two, was NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I'm going, what? I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm already silly enough, as my daughters will surely attest. And so I'm going, what is this? What's going on? And in fact, just before I had the heart attack, one of the doctors said, "Hey, you got to stop drinking." I said, "Drinking? I haven't had a beer in like, I don't know,
Yeah.
40 years or something. I would like
Yeah.
a cold, light beer in the summer, but I don't
Mhm.
even do that anymore." But so I said, "Well, I don't drink." He says, "Well, I don't know." He shrugged his shoulders, And then when I looked into that, I had elevated GGT, gamma glutamyl transferase, which, as you know, is a liver enzyme. And
Mhm.
most doctors, all they'll check is the ALT, ALP, AST, right?
Mhm.
They don't check the GGT. I don't know if, I guess insurance charges more than that, but they don't check the
Probably.
GGT. And it's the most important one. Why is that? See, life insurance companies, they got to know who to accept and who to reject, right? And they are extremely good at analyzing statistics and so on from the 1600s when they would insure boats that would go out into the ocean. And that's why they're probably the most successful companies on the planet, because all they need is two pieces of data: your date of birth and recent labs that they want you to take, right? So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
get your, and they'll tell you exactly when you're going to die down to the year and the month. That's how they
Oh
make up your
God.
premium, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, they what they found was GGT, gamma glutamyl transferase, is their number one predictor of all cause mortality. It's like, what?
Hmm.
Can you guys please talk to the medical community so that
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
so
Yeah.
you know that they're
Yeah.
no, and there's cholesterol and LDL. They don't even make it onto their what they call mortality predictor lists, right? So,
Wow, that's really interesting. That's very
and
revealing
I
that that's
had
the
that. I had
case. Yeah.
elevated what's supposed to be 65 or under on the reference scale. Mine was
Mhm.
265. It's like, what?
Wow.
And so I had
Okay.
really had it, and that was from the all the high fructose corn syrup that I was getting into my diet. Because then I looked at
Mhm.
my pantry, I was going, it's there, it's everywhere. And
Yep.
so that was part of my exploration. And I found another study that showed that if you have this elevated GGT, the usual cause of death is a heart attack. I was connecting dots like crazy. It's like,
Yep.
wow. So GGT, folks, you got to make sure your doctor checks that one.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's crazy because again, like that's interesting that you're digging into what the insurance companies think is important because that's true. You got all these people like looking at in the medical industry, they might be doing studies and they're like, well, does this thing alter physiology in the right way or is it going to be sustainable? And they're looking into stuff like that when it comes to drugs. But when they're looking at it from an insurance company perspective, it's like we got to be really good at knowing when people are going to drop dead. It's like
Hey,
so,
it's money, baby.
it's
It's
a
money.
yeah, that's true. It's a different angle, so that's very interesting. I wonder what else they're interested in.
Oh, God, I would love to see. And that leaked
Mm,
out. I think it was, I found that information through Ivor Cummins. I don't know if you know him, but he used to be
mm-mm.
heavily, just a few years ago, into the whole space of health and wellness and that kind of thing. Now he's more into the rulers of the planet, from the World Economic Forum to all these things that are going on in
Oh
society.
yeah.
That's
You'll own nothing and be happy and eat the
exactly
bugs. Yeah.
Klaus Schwab. Klaus
Yeah.
Schwab. Yeah, well, I get into that a little bit. It's the only place I get into that kind of thing is
Mm,
chapter 12, which is eat meat and help the planet. Because most people think
mm,
eat meat and help the planet. What about the cow farts? They're making all the.
yeah.
So I debunk
Yeah.
all that, and it's just
Yep.
pretty wild. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So you should have, I don't know, your cover. I'll show an image of your book, but it's like,
Let's see. I think I have one here.
yeah.
It's again, I don't know, get this glare out of the way.
Yeah. There
Unholy
you go.
Trinity: How
Yep.
carbs, sugar, and oils make us fat, sick, and addicted, and how
Yep.
to escape their grip. And I'm so glad it it's doing well. I mean, after I appeared on Ken Berry's, it went to number one
Mhm.
on Amazon. It's like, what?
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because I had and I got these amazing endorsements from people because
Mhm.
after I wrote it, it was my first book. I mean, I'm literate and I know how to compose and
Mhm.
write and that kind of thing. I thought, well, I'm looking at all these other books and I'm saying, well, you got to have some endorsements. So I started reaching
Mhm.
out to these heavy hitters, and oh my God, I
Mhm.
got these amazing endorsements.
Well, it's a perfect encapsulation of, just the title and what you're talking about, the subject matter is a perfect encapsulation for this community as a whole. It's like our mantra, because when the carnivore community, we're always discussing things like this. So I think that, with the information you have in there, it sounds like like you're touching on some things that, I hadn't even heard of, which
Well,
is
no,
great,
that's, that's why I was just shocked when I was getting all these great endorsements. I got this wonderful endorsement from Dr. Philip Ovadia. He's
Mm-hmm.
done like over 3,000 heart operations. He's a
Yep.
cardiothoracic surgeon, and he
Yeah, he's
wrote me
like
a mail.
stay off my operating table. I
Yeah,
think is
that's
what he's.
right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
and like that, and then I even have the winner of the Nobel Prize in Medicine for his discovery of nitric oxide. It's like, what?
wow.
So then I
Okay,
really
okay.
knew that I had something, and I got other
Yeah.
people too that you'll recognize when you see them on my website,
Mm.
danieltrevor.com.
You get a lot of hate. Yeah, so it's danieltrevor.com is your
Right,
website.
right.
Is it and I want to touch on your diet too in a minute, but did you get a lot of hate? I want to ask you that first. Like, did you get a lot of flack from the mainstream medicine? Like, because I noticed carnivores get a lot of we get a lot of trolls that are like, you're gonna eat the rainbow, blibbity blibbity blue. So, so
Well,
did
look,
you get a lot of?
I don't, but I just try to explain as I clearly do in the book that this is looking at it from 30,000 feet. This is how these human bodies that we have evolved over time. They're not
Mhm.
used to eating these manufactured foods. There's the air
Yep.
quotes again that have just been around less than 100 years. That's like
Yeah.
20 minutes or 5 minutes in the eons of time,
Mhm.
multiple eons of time. Our
Yep.
diet, again, it was always consisted of when you and I were out hunting,
Mhm.
3,000, 13,000, whatever years ago, we would, it was what we could catch, kill, and eat, nose to tail, along with
Mhm.
maybe some berries or something like that. And,
Yep.
it's just how these bodies, they respond well. Because what
Mhm.
I do is, I just go by how do I feel?
Mhm.
And what do my blood labs look like? And the more so I started with keto, and then I moved to the more plants that I removed from my diet. Number one, the
Mhm.
better I felt, and number two, the better my labs looked.
Yep.
What more can you ask for, right? You feel
I know.
good.
I
You
know.
got your
Yeah.
blood labs are looking
Mhm.
great. So anyway, that's the way I
Yeah.
look at it. It's a very evolutionarily way. It's not this fake food. It's not fake food.
Mhm.
That's what it is. It's money that's involved. It's the big food companies, and
Mhm.
then they send us the big medicine for drugs and procedures, and then we're over into the big pharma area. So it's
Yeah.
just such a shame.
Yeah, it's sad, and I think that's the key is resources like yours that help show that you need to kick the pod open and get out because we're in a matrix of this is all a big pile of lies, and so anything I'm all for vehicles that expose this because unless we wake up, it's like we're just doomed as a species. I think,
Speaking of the
but.
Matrix, a few weeks ago I did this. I have a weekly newsletter that's free that people can
Mhm.
sign up for on my website. And I did one I called it the Matrix, how to unplug
Mhm.
from the Matrix, and I give them this whole
Mhm.
thing of how we are plugged into the Matrix, and this is what it is, and
Mhm.
all that kind of thing. I should send it to you, but anyone can go to my website and sign up for it. And when you do, you can get a free preview of the book. In other words,
Oh, okay.
you get a PDF of the first 48 pages. Because I'm old style, I remember going to the
Mhm.
yogurt stands and you get a little taste of this and taste of that. So you can taste it, see if you want it,
Yeah.
and then you can buy it or not, whatever. Because this is not a money motivated action for me. I just want to help my brother and sisters, my fellow humans, not to have a heart attack and not to have,
Mhm.
because again, this diabetic physiology is the source root cause of heart attacks, strokes, certain cancers,
Mhm.
PCOS. Amputations. Oh my God, there's a new study just about 6 months ago.
Mhm.
It was showing that in the United States, the average number of amputations every day, 438. They're chopping up the
Wow.
toes and the feet and below the
Yep.
knee. And it's so sad because it's so avoidable. But these people are really, really addicted, right?
Yeah.
They just are out of control, and they don't know, they don't have any guidance because everybody around them is eating the same foods and that kind of thing, and they don't know what to not bring into the house. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
that's the first thing. People have to get the information, and then when I tell them, I say, okay, so you got to make your list. I mean, I had to do this too because I had the same addictions as everybody else. I say, look, pick 2 or 3 of your items that you can't live without. Right? Don't try the whole thing at one time because you'll fail. Just pick
Yep.
2 or 3 and go, okay, so how do I find a delicious but healthy substitute for that harmful, that's a food that's harming my body? And these days, YouTube is a treasure trove of low carb, keto recipes and all that kind of stuff. So I point people in that direction and just pick 2, and something that you can't live without, and just go that way. And then pick another 2 and that kind of thing, and make those things. And pretty soon your palate and your taste buds will change, and you won't
Yep.
even want those harmful things in your body. And your blood labs will get better, and you're looking at it, wow, this is good. This is working. So the proof
Yep.
is in the pudding.
That's true, as we say in the South.
Yeah.
It is. It is because I do that. I call it surrogate foods. Like basically in the beginning, look for something, a lesser evil, right? So, and that way, even if it's slow, you're going to move towards the right direction. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. So you just keep going forward. I think is what the moral of the story is.
Exactly.
But in the description section, I'm going to put your links and everything to
Okay.
the book and to your website and newsletter and all that kind of stuff. And
Sounds
is there
great.
any last words, so to speak, or words of wisdom you can share with the audience?
There's so much information there. I know we missed a bunch of things that I would love to talk about, but we have so much time and that kind of thing. But the book is 467 pages with lots of graphs and charts and images and that kind of thing. And it's explained easily. It's not, you don't have to be a doctor to read it, even though these people, but they need it more than the average person.
Yeah, the doctors actually need to read it, probably.
Yeah, if you want to escape from the matrix, as you call it, this is the information you need. And that's why, I have such amazing endorsements on the website there, which people will see when they go there.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been really great. And, here's to more exposing the matrix and getting out of it.
Yes. Thank you.
So we
Okay.
got to
Thank
keep
you
it
so
going.
much, Liz. I really appreciate it. Big hugs, sister. And let's talk soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.